The Ludovico Sculpture Trail in Seneca Falls is one of the town's treasures. The town board is now considering using the power of eminent domain for an easement in order to install a sewer pipeline underneath the trail. A second public hearing on this issue was set for March 22, 2018. I notified Town Supervisor Greg Lazaro that I was preparing a PowerPoint for the hearing. I wanted to give information about the prominence in Seneca Falls of Lidovico Sculpture Trail signs is an indication of the value the community places on the trail. These signs lead visitors to one of the town's most important assets. This photo, taken from I Love New York ad campaign, is the only picture in my slide talk that I didn't take. Anthony Meets Stanton, a celebrated sculpture by Ted Aub, is displayed on East Baird Street. It has become a logo for Seneca Falls and appears throughout the town on directional signs for tourists. At the trail's entrance on Bridge Street is a sign with this Seneca Falls logo: trail to the left, museums, downtown, straight ahead. Among the attractions that the state of New York advertises is New York history and New York outdoor recreation. The Ludovico Trail has both. In fact, I would suggest that what Central Park is to New York City, the Ludovico Trail is to Seneca Falls. Both are unique. The trail is 1.7 miles long, running along the Cayuga-Seneca Canal. It has two distinct sections. In this talk, I show and discuss both. The first section, the yellow line, begins at the foot of the bridge over the canal, shown on the far right. After passing under the Veterans Bridge, seen in the middle, it ends in a wide clearing. See the clearing just below the O at the end of the word Ludovico. This section is where 14 sculptures are installed. 20 years ago, in 1998, Frank Ludovico, a town resident and businessman, gave the land to Wilhelmina Pushmakans. It was an abandoned and overgrown Lehigh Valley railroad bed. A year later, in 1999, the Sculpture Trail was incorporated and opened. This is the original sign. I took the photo of Wilhelmina toasting a dedication in 2013. She lives in Buffalo and in June will be 85 years old. Her two adult daughters are now trail board leaders. The photo on the left shows the trail entrance. The first 5 statues honor women and their achievements. On the right is the protector of the trail, Suzanne Hawker, the first female police officer in Seneca Falls. She was appointed on September 11, 1994. Last fall, Sue was honored for saving the life of a heroin overdose victim by using Narcan. Notice that the flag is at half-staff. I took this photo on Thursday, February 15th, the day after the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, when 17 lost their lives. Here are 2 different views of the sculpture honoring Hillary Clinton. On the left, the Seneca Falls Community Center is seen in the background. It is mirrored in the still water of the canal. The Status of Women by Betty Boggs commemorates the 150th anniversary of the first Women's Rights Convention in 1848. Many citizens remember that Hillary Clinton was present in Seneca Falls for that anniversary celebration in 1998. This July marks the 170th anniversary of the convention. In the eminent domain controversy, the town supervisor, the attorneys representing the town engineers, and town council members are all male. The trail founder, her 2 daughters, others representing the trail, and the attorney defending the trail are all female. To this day, power is still unequal. Diana Smith was elected the village's first woman mayor in 2004. To the right is a photo of a New York Chiropractic College graduate visiting from out of state along with his dog Mia, who is looking intently at Mayor Smith. Countless visitors and residents can be seen walking the trail in all seasons and weather. The only reason that it is possible to use the Ludovico Trail for a sewer line is that the land has been laboriously cleared and opened by community volunteers. This bench with plaque describes Adam Jensen's Eagle Scout project and the hard work he and 24 volunteers did on the trail 13 years ago. Between 2002 and 2007, the Ludovico Sculpture Trail received $39,000 from the town board. The support continued and was much appreciated. According to town records, by 2014, the town had given a total of $75,350. Sadly, during the past 3 years, with eminent domain under consideration and the trail's founder under pressure to sign an access agreement, the Ludovico Trail has received no money at all. 22 women, friends of the trail, work to raise money through the game of bunco. These photos are from the dedication of the bench by bunco. This was just one of the sculpture dedications and receptions Wilhelmina has organized and provided. On a plaque are the names of Wilhelmina and the 22 women supporters. There have been countless unnamed volunteers helping over the 20 years. People with homes on the north side of West Baird Street with backyards abutting the trail were initially opposed to it. They were understandably apprehensive about possible vandalism to their property. But as users of the trail have been respectful, homeowner attitudes have changed. Youth have confined graffiti to the Veterans Bridge support, an expression of public art that trail owners accept and appreciate. Seen in the background, bright red, is the last sculpture installed on the trail. It is Free Spirit by Miriam Nelson of Sherman, Connecticut. Wetlands are beautifully visible along with the trail sculpture. Seen together, this is where art meets nature. Machine Lace. Red-Tailed Hawk by Carol Ademick of Camillus. The stunning great blue heron Hugo is also by Carol Ademick. A wide clearing marks the end of the developed trail section where sculptures are exhibited. Note the benches. There are many benches along the long pedestrian walkway. They invite thoughtful viewing and times for rest. 2 sculptures are at the clearing. The view across the canal from the clearing is of the ITT Gould's Pumps plant on Fall Street. This sculpture is by Audrey Awaniki, a senior programmer analyst at the ITT Gould's Pumps. She learned welding in order to create this. This is a view from the clearing as one looks back towards the trail's beginning. One sees first the Veterans Bridge, and then in the background, the Bridge Street Bridge. In the foreground, one can see the heron, and to his right, the dark support pole with red-tailed hawk atop it. Before moving to show the second section of the trail, I want to say a quick word about cultural landscapes. This is a relatively new term in the field of historic preservation. In the past, preservationists spoke of almost exclusively of buildings and about old structures. Now they are discussing landscapes and the valuable evidence that they give of various use of the land by different peoples and groups over time. The Ludovico Trail is an amazing cultural landscape that has caught the attention of SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. Displayed on the trail are 6 remarkable murals. They tell the story of human use of this particular landscape. Here is the story covering centuries. Note that I have highlighted in bold italic the time period most relevant to the trail's land. Cayuga Indians inhabit Seneca River. The railroad follows the established routes of commerce. Overgrowth takes over abandoned railroad bed. The trail today. By calling attention to the land's ongoing use, the trail itself becomes part of the story and so provides added value. Says sculptor Cherry Ron, the sculptures evoke a stroll through the history of the area. Because of glare from the plexiglass covering the murals, taking photos is difficult. Here is just one. The text below it reads, "Around 1500, the Cayuga Indians established a permanent home along the rapids of the Seneca River. The river provided water, fish, and transportation. The river was also a habitat for wild game that provided clothing and food. The Indians lived in longhouses that were made by bending young trees in an arch that were covered with bark. This is the site of the Seneca River, now the Lidovico Sculpture Trail and the Cayuga-Seneca Canal, where the Indians fished." Back to the trail. Here is a photo of the bridge that leads from the clearing in section 1 to the second section. The bridge crosses a brook leading from woodland streams into the canal, which is seen in the background. The map with trail in yellow shows the second undeveloped section of the trail. Notice where the trail divides. The upper section goes up a hill along the canal, then drops abruptly down the hill to rejoin the lower trail. The clearing can be seen just slightly to the right of where the trail divides. Look below the L of the word trail. This western end of the Ludovico Trail continues to Sucker Brook, where the trail ends. At that end point, note where the yellow line makes a hard 90-degree angle. It drops south, following the parallel to the Elks Lodge in purple lettering, to meet West Baird Street, or River Road. This is not Ludovico Trail property. It belongs to NYSEG. This is where engineers propose the pipeline will go from the road to meet the trail. Here we see in photos what I have been describing. Notice the trail divide after the bridge. To the right, the trail goes up a hill to follow along the canal. Now notice the trail straight ahead. Here is a view of the upper trail along the canal. There are benches, but no sculptures. Barton and LaJudas engineers plan to, quote, improve this long stretch of trail to meet state trail standards, but they will not use it for the sewer line. It is important to be aware that contrary to what the engineers repeatedly insist, the Ludovico Trail is not part of the Cayuga-Seneca Canal Trail system. It is privately owned. Wilhelmina Pushmakans has not signed on to that trail project. This has disappointed many people. But the fact is, a 12-foot wide path readily accessible for bicycles is not her vision for the sculpture trail. This is especially true for its western wildlife habitat section. The engineers plan to use this level, straight, narrow, interior section of the Wilderness Trail for the sewer force main. Keep in mind that the huge HDD, horizontal directional drilling equipment, needed for this project is about 8 feet wide and 20 feet long. Converging here into the brook flowing under the bridge are small streams. Will the pipeline under the trail carrying landfill leachate go under the brook that leads into the canal? As far as I can tell, it will, but no plan is available. A stream runs alongside the entire length of this section. It is old-growth forest. This photo was taken a year ago. It is how the trail is beginning to look now with the arrival of spring. These photos were taken in February. Notice the old-growth forest. Here is an endangered bat habitat. To mitigate the necessity of taking down trees, engineer Peter Baker tells me that they will plant trees elsewhere. This photo shows what the walker sees at the end of the trail. Turn left to walk down the small trail on Niseg property leading to River Road, which becomes West Baird Street. Bear right, and one is at Sucker Brook. At Sucker Brook, the trail walker can clearly see the place where a railroad bridge once brought rail cars across the water. If a walker has not seen this site, she or he has not experienced the full length of the Ludovico Trail. This West Baird Street resident and his dog often walk the trail to its end. To the left, in the middle of this photo, going down a hill from the road, is the entry point for a vehicle and a parking space. For sewer pipeline work, this area will need to be greatly through culverts under the road, upper left. If one travels a little further along the road above, one comes to Sauter's store. The truck is parked on the small parking area near the brook, lower left. The narrow path along Sucker Brook, lower right, leads to the end of the Sculpture Trail. This quaint path is often used by fishermen. Like the Sculpture Trail, this Niseg property crosses woodlands and wetlands that the New York Department of Environmental Conservation wants to see protected. In a letter written to the town supervisor in November 2015 about sewer line options, the DEC recommended that this land not be used for the sewer pipeline. A great-grandfather who lives in Seneca Falls gazes at a green marker by Sucker Brook, then heads down the trail on a cold Saturday in February to meet the Ludovico Sculpture Trail. A state environmental quality review, SEQR, made in 2016 by the town board, followed an extremely faulty process. Their negative declaration was posted by the DEC in June 2016, but it never came up in town board references to the Sculpture Trail and eminent domain. The fact that the town board had made a declaration in 2016 that a sewer line down the trail would have no negative effect on the environment was not mentioned at the first eminent domain hearing in 2017. This fact was brought to public attention only when the trail's attorney called attention to it at the second March 2018 hearing. It was surprising news to people present. Before the first hearing in May 2017, engineers marked the trail. They did not ask permission, nor did they give notice of what they planned to do. They trespassed and defaced private property. But the message seemed to be, this project is going to happen. Orange markers on the trail. Markers on the trees. Barton and LaJudas say they will improve the trail. They say proudly that they will bring it up to state trail standards, making it 12 feet wide. The above photo, with yardstick on the ground, shows the widest part of the trail. It's about 6 feet. The space between the sticks measures 8 feet. As mentioned, the drilling apparatus is about 8 feet wide and 20 feet long, according to engineer Peter Baker. Imagine equipment this wide and long barging through the west end of the trail. The stream beside the narrow path will be destroyed. Large trees will be taken down. Wildlife habitat will be diminished and forever compromised. A town treasure violated by a sewer force main. The last photo is of a poster board at the entrance to the trail. On it is a hand-lettered sign, posted anonymously, that reads, in part, Ludovico Sculpture Trail is an ongoing dream of William Pushmakan's founder. The trail is where art meets nature to be enjoyed by all. Help save our waterway from possible contamination, wildlife that hasn't been disrupted over 50 years, and the wetlands. What the Seneca Falls Town Board will decide about the sewer line is unknown at this time. Thank you for viewing my presentation.